Hello, I'm Brett Knowles from PM Squared Consulting. This is the first of a 8-part series on a conversation about FP&A inside the power distribution organizations. This video is an executive summary of the following 7 more detailed videos. Our conversation is going to cover 3 major areas. One is we're going to characterize the common FP&A challenges in large power distribution organizations. From there, we're going to discuss 5 quick wins which we found most of our power distribution clients are able to implement within weeks and see significant benefits and rapid payback. And then finally, we're going to expose you to what a longer-term solution might look like. So let's start. In terms of the common FP&A challenges, the planning process that we're going to describe is common across what we've averaged our key distribution clients to look like. And they're roughly in the same size as UGI. They're about $1.7 billion in capital investments, about $400 million in maintenance investments, an 8 to 10% shareholder return on an $8 billion rate base, about 60,000 miles worth of pipelines, and about 4 million customers. Their planning cycle is typical as to most organizations. They all develop a strategy plan from their financial plans, and then they've got a series of departments that it's shared with. So the strategy plan is typically cascaded down, where some rough cut financial budgets and forecasts are put together. Then those are sent to each business unit and department, and it's their job to respond to those strategic imperatives. The characteristics of this process are as follows. Typically, there are 6 cycles of this back and forth pass off before we finally get agreement and sign off. There's typically an 18-week elapsed time between when the process of FP&A begins and when it's completed. It consumes about 30% of senior leadership's time during that 18-week window, which amounts to about 25 man-years per $1 billion of revenue, or if you cost that out, about $1 million to plan every $1 billion. Typically, on average, there are about 9 different systems that are drawn upon, and they have a common issue of low-quality data. In addition, that we find managers typically do not follow the planning rules, and this results in high stress and high FP&A staff turnover. And overall, what we discover is the plan is typically obsolete even before the year begins. So let's quickly walk through what the 5 quick wins are that you can deliver. And again, we'll go into each of these in more detail in subsequent videos. They are, first, create shared spreadsheets. So linking the spreadsheets together. So no longer do we have individual spreadsheets, but they're joined together. So when you make a change in one spreadsheet, the whole network changes. Now, this can be done easily through SharePoint, or you can accelerate the process by using cloud-based solutions or even Google Sheets as an example. The second step in moving forward is about simplifying the planning model. We typically find that a plan can be run with between 1 and 10% of the drivers or complexity that they currently have. And we'll show you how you can easily identify that short list of models and drivers and how to put them together. The next step is to eliminate those back and forth cycles. There's techniques that we can use to take out about 8 weeks of the 16-week cycle merely by having joint teams working in parallel, not in series. The next improvement we find is by involving less people. We can reduce the headcount involved in planning by more than 50% and find that it actually improves the quality of the plan and significantly decreases the elapsed time. And then finally, the whole idea of being agile, monitoring and reacting and replanning rapidly allows you to run with lighter models that are more dynamic. So those are the quick wins. In terms of a longer-term solution, there are many cloud-based tools that are currently available that basically you could almost think of them as spreadsheets on steroids, but they're really something different. The spreadsheet model extended to what a planning tool would look like. Without advocating any particular tools, the idea is basically think of an inventory of lists. When you are doing your planning right now in spreadsheets, you have the columns and rows of your spreadsheet. Think of those as lists and have both the columns and rows connected as lists in a structure. Then you can grab any column and put it on the side and any column and put it on the top to create a spreadsheet, and the system's smart enough to understand what data to populate based on the X and Y axis that you've determined. So the lists actually define the plan modules, and you can do those on the fly. And then in turn, those populate sort of dashboards that we can then send back to the participants to help them understand what that plan looks like. So it's a bit sketchy of a conversation. Listen to the more detailed webinar that walks you through how these innovative tools work, but they basically are taking the spreadsheets one step further. The interesting thing we found is we can actually hit the quick wins and implement these sorts of tools at the same time. In other words, we're swapping out the spreadsheets for these lists as we go through module by module. And the typical configuration is it's going to pull from your existing systems, those 9 standard systems you have, and then you can go off and build any of these plans in any particular sequence, which is what we call the plan modules. The benefits is we see about a 61% lower cost to run the plan. We see about a 93% reduction in errors, and we see about a 40% less staff to run the plan. And we also see a process that's about 25% faster on average. Well, that's the end of the executive summary. I hope it's caused you to have enough interest to take a look at the individual sections as we go through this.